Hello, my name is Chad King. Today I'm going to cover how to migrate a management VM kernel interface on ESXi 5 to a vSphere distributed switch. I will create the vSphere distributed switch. I will migrate the interface. There are things you most definitely want to consider when performing this task. Today's scenario only involves a single NIC. There are no redundancies here. This is mostly done as a test. The second thing you most definitely want to check is if you're using any VLANs on your management interface. As you can see, this interface has no VLANs. So we can migrate this interface to distributed vSwitch. You also want to take note if there is a VLAN ID and write that down. Any other special settings you may or may not want to have, such as vMotion or fault tolerance, you might want to take note of those as well. For the most part, it'll move the interface and its settings over. Let's create our vSphere distributed switch. We're going to go into Inventory Networking, right-click the data center, and we want to create a new vSphere distributed switch. Our hosts are version 5, so we want to just select Next. We'll only have one uplink, but I always leave the defaults. However, let's rename our switch. VDS01 Management Migration. Click Next. Add the host later. And then finish. vCenter will launch a task to create the distributed switch and the port group. On the port group, we most definitely want to check the settings on here. Make sure the VLANs are right. So yes, we're using VLAN none. If we did, we would want to specify that, because if we do the migration, we have to ensure that that VLAN is tagged on that port group, as this is done differently on a vSphere distributed network switch versus the normal vSphere switch. Looks like we're good to go. Now we can do the migration test. Basically, highlight your switch, Configuration tab, Add Host. So we see we do have two VM NICs, but we're only using one. We want to use the one that's currently in use because we want to do this test. So we can see VMK0 on vSwitch 0. It's a VM kernel port group, which is another way of saying that it's used for management related functions on ESXi. We want to migrate this to the DV port group. Highlight the destination port group and click Next. Next again, then Finish. Let's go to Host and Clusters. And as you can see, our host is still up. If you go to the Networking tab, you can see there's nothing there anymore. However, on the vSphere distributed switch is where we will find our management interface resting. Successfully migrated on one NIC. There are other careful considerations you want to make when doing this, but for the most part, this is used in one-off case scenarios where disaster recoveries may be going on or you need to move some stuff around. But for the most part, having two PNICs are ideal. You can also view this same information on the network switch itself by going to Networking under Inventory and selecting Configuration. Here you can view all hosts connected to this switch. There are pros to cons to using VDS and VSSs. Carefully consider which works best for your environment and make that decision. Standardize at all possible where you can. Once again, this is Chad King. Thanks for joining me today on how to migrate the VMK interface. Thank you. Have a great day.